can we just like say right here, right now, like whoever's listening, between you and I, like we're done with calories. It tells us nothing about our health. It doesn't give us any vision of good hormonal health. It is an old, outdated theory that needs to go away.
I mean, between your podcast and your YouTube and the book, you've literally helped millions of women start to reclaim, from my perspective, a sense of empowerment about their own healing and their own health and how to take care of themselves in a new way. And now you've got a new book out, Eat Like a Girl, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But first, I want to ask you, why do you think that so many of us struggle when it comes to food and maintaining our health and our hormones and our weight? Like, what is it that's going on with us that, based on your information, your research, and your knowledge, that it's been such a challenge? And why does fasting like a girl, like, why does it work for so many?
Yeah. Can I give the incredibly authentic answer here?
Yes.
Okay. So, and you know, I always say, I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Yes.
But women are living in a patriarchal world that has been all about one size fits all. So whether it's a diet, whether it's we go into our doctor's office, whether we go and work out, we're always looking at this one size fits all. We never pull it out and go, how does this work for my feminine body? So the pace of the world is so dysregulating us. Cortisol is up, food is full of toxins, the toxins are making us overweight, they're messing up our hormones. Like literally we're at an evolutionary mismatch with the modern world.
And do you think, let me ask you about that for a second. So you don't think, I mean, the toxins have to affect men and women somewhat the same.
I actually don't think they do.
Oh, tell me more.
And let me tell you why.
Yeah.
So men are run by one hormone, and that hormone is testosterone. We know this, you know, and it comes in every 15, 20 minutes. They work off a 24-hour cycle. Women, we are run by three hormones: estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And we work off a 30-day cycle. Now, with men, they will make testosterone and it'll go up into the brain and convert into estrogen. So they only have really one hormone to focus on. Whereas our three hormones, they all want a different lifestyle. They all react to toxins differently. Like they just are a little more sophisticated. Let's just put it that way.
I love that. I love that take on it, because my mind was going someplace else, and I love that you put it in that frame.
Yeah. So let's use estrogen as an example. If I'm putting a food in my mouth that is an endocrine disruptor and it has a chemical in it, or even something on my skin, and it mimics estrogen, I'll eat that. I'll lather it on my skin. It goes in my body, and my body thinks it got estrogen. But once that estrogen gets in the cell, the body's like, wait a second, this isn't real estrogen. So estrogen production gets altered. And then the body's like, this fake version of estrogen, I have no idea what to do with it. So I'm going to go ahead and store it as fat. And so it starts packing it away in all these different areas. Then we as women, what do? When we don't like our bodies, we go look in the mirror and we're like, that belly, that back of my arm, my booty, I don't like it. I need to change it. And we shame it. And we shame ourselves.
Yes.
And one of the challenges in that moment is that I always call it, we turn on ourselves. We start saying poor things to ourselves. And then we become hyper vigilant about working out more, dieting more, doing more, trying to get rid of this chemical that really shouldn't have been in our body in the first place. So instead of like sitting down and being like, well, this is a bummer that I've got this extra weight, we overdo it. Now we've raised cortisol. When you raise cortisol, progesterone's like, I'm out. Like, cortisol's here. I don't like cortisol. I'm just going to go hide here in the corner, and progesterone is completely gone. So one beauty product, one toxic food eaten over and over and over again can lead to this massive imbalance of these two major sex hormones for us.
Okay, so I want to put a pin in that and come back to connecting it to Fast Like a Girl and how that has helped so many millions. But I also want to say right now, so I'm a creature of habit, and I just have to, like, I love you so much as my friend, and we just did something. I don't know if by the time we air this, we'll be able to like put a little picture-in-picture clip. But I often, and this is a habit that you've helped me break actually, where I have certain snacks that are like my go-to snacks. And you were just saying, right, if you kind of eat this particular food or you lather something on your skin over and over again, there's this massive imbalance. And what I didn't realize until you opened my eyes to it, which was about my chips.
Oh,
because I'm I am salty in all of the ways. Like I am just a little salty New Jersey girl. And I like my salty treats, like I know many of our watchers and our listeners do. So I didn't realize that some of my veggie chips were steeped in these like super shitty oils. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm doing that again and again. So I just, we'll talk about that more later, but I wanted to thank you publicly because I've now been passing that along, and like I've changed how Chris, you know, me and my best friend Chris, we were doing one of our little Dream Club retreats, and we're like shopping in Whole Foods. We actually sent you a video. I was like, Mindy approved chips because you changed how we shop. So this information is just so important because I bet you there are a lot of folks out there like me, you've got your go-tos. Yep. And you don't recognize, you're not fully aware of every ingredient in there and how it might be impacting your moods and your mental health and your physical health. Yes. And that making some of these changes can just have such a dramatic effect so quickly. So connect that for me to fasting and to why Fast Like a Girl has really helped so many people. Like,
yeah, it's so interesting because I've even been blown away. I'm like, what? And I've picked up the book several times since I put it out. I'm like, what did I say in this?
You're like, what magic did I say?
Yeah, you know how you write a book and like, then it comes out 2 years later. You're like, what did I say at that time? Yeah. And what I think is that fasting provided a break. If that's all it did, is it gave women a break from this toxic food. And in that break, their bodies started to heal themselves. And then they became curious of like, why is that happening? And that's really why we were putting Eat Like a Girl out, because now I'm like, hey, guess what? Fasting worked because you took a break from all these toxins. Now let's get your eating dialed in so that you don't have to, you know, you can have a good, healthy balance of both fasting and eating. Yes. But I literally think it's a break from the modern world is what it did.
So anyone who's not familiar, because there may be people, right? There's those of us who are like existing in this world of being obsessed with our health and trying different things. I have my friend, Regina, whenever we text to go out to dinner, we're like, okay, what eating regimen are you on now? You know what I mean? Like, are there beans? Are there no beans? Are there gluten? Are there, you know, we laugh our asses off because this has been going on for years. Right. For those not familiar with fasting, it doesn't mean not eating, obviously. Yeah. Can you just break down a little bit of what fasting is and like the top sheet on what the research shows are some of the benefits, especially for women?
Yeah, so it might be helpful for people to think of it as time-restricted eating. So I actually just had Sachin Panda on my podcast, and we talked all about circadian rhythm. And one of the things he said is that the most important thing for circadian rhythm is your timing of food. Now, if we just take that idea, like really, how many years have we been debating which diet to be on?
Totally.
And it's like all of a sudden we're like, wait a second, it wasn't only the food you were eating, but it was when you were eating. So that would be the first thing that I like brain aha that I want people to have, is that it's not just about quality food, it's about what time you're gonna put that in. So that's the first thing. Second thing that blew me away once I understood this was we actually have 2 metabolisms. So think about that for a moment. Like, wild. How many ladies' nights have you been out and a girlfriend is like, my metabolism's really slow. I must have a thyroid problem. I must have this problem. And we just walk around like it's one metabolism, but it's not. There's 2. So we actually are like a hybrid car. So we have one metabolism that stimulates when glucose goes up. And glucose is just the scientific term for when we eat food, your blood sugar goes up. And then we have another metabolism that kicks in when we don't eat. And it's called the ketogenic energy system, where our body will actually burn fat to create this fuel source called a ketone. So we're meant to metabolically switch from one metabolism to the next. So think about this. This is something literally that I could spend a Friday night like geeking out on. And that is, we've been over here as women like trying to figure out the best diet. Yeah. But that only works for the sugar burner system. It only works for one metabolism. So you can take any diet. You can take, the plant-based, you can take carnivore, you can take any trendy diet. And if you match that to a different eating window, or what we call fasting window, leaving a bigger time for no food, that diet's going to work better for you because you've now clicked into both metabolisms.
You know, it makes me think too, what I know as being like a former Nike athlete and just someone, taught in fitness forever, danced forever. It's like I know my body responds best when I don't do the same thing over and over again. Right. And so there's this dynamic switching that happens where you keep you know, from a physical fitness perspective, you're kind of keeping everybody, all of us on our toes, and then everything gets stronger and better. And that's what I get reminded of when I hear that from you. It's like this ability to flex and be flexible.
Yeah, and imagine that the fitness analogy is a great analogy. What if you went in and you did the same workout every single day?
Your body would adapt.
Yeah.
It gets so smart, it gets bored, and you get diminishing returns.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. That's why we call it metabolic switching. Let's play with both of these metabolisms. In Fast Like a Girl, I mapped out 6 different length fasts. In Eat Like a Girl, we're now mapping out 2 different food styles. And it's like, okay, we're born for variety.
Yes.
So the reason people can't do diets long term is it gets boring, it gets rigid, it gets like, I can't socialize with my friends. I'm so bored with my food.
Yep.
And what I'm saying is actually you can do it all and lose weight and balance your hormones and love the body you're living in.
Yes. And for all of my my sisters out there who are non-cycling, whether you are past menopause or like me, you know, no longer have a uterus, still have my ovaries. But I remember when I read your book, I was like, I'm like, can I really map all this with the cycles? What would you say for those of us who, again, can't necessarily, in an easy, super easy way, track where we are in that 36-day cycle?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is, oh my gosh, there are so many women out there without a cycle.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And something in the research for Eat Like a Girl that just blew me away is I've been trying to figure out what's in menstrual blood. Like when we shed every single month, like when we're supposed to have a cycle, what's in that? I found a study and it was 4 different chemicals. There's plastics, there's phthalates, forever chemicals, and pesticides. Ooh. Like crazy, right? Oh. So when we're shedding every month, we're actually detoxing, which is really important. So now let's fast forward to what if you are of cycling age and you're not shedding every month. Okay, well, that's a challenge. And so what I do with those people is we try to get them eating, like following in Eat Like a Girl. I had 3 principles of what it meant to eat like a girl. And it's like principle number 1 is like, we got to diversify our food choices, which we've already talked about. Principle number 2 is like, we've got to eat to support our liver and our gut so we can break down these hormones that our body's producing. And then principle number 3 is we've got to eat to detox these hormones. So I found when I taught women how to do that, and then I matched it to their fasting window, their cycles came back.
Wow.
So, and which is a gift, right?
Yes.
Because now you're detoxing.
Let's go a little bit deeper into the diversifying of food, because I hit on it from the fact that like I can get myself into ruts, which I think a lot of people can, and you get your favorite foods, whether, you know, again, not the best in the world coming from a bag or a box, but even if it's whole foods and you just keep eating the same good, clean whole foods again and again. Yeah. I feel like there's great new things that I keep hearing about, and I'm sure you've been talking about this forever, like, you know, trying to get like 60 different vegetables in a week. And I've been having so much fun with that.
Oh, good.
Oh my God. Grocery shopping is one of my favorite things in the world. Josh always knows, he's like, do you need to grocery shop? I'm like, yes, I need to go to a big grocery store with my cart and just like roll around and just pull it's the best thing. So, but that's a principle from Eat Like a Girl. It's huge.
So when your body goes to make a hormone, it actually pulls in 24 key nutrients. I mapped that out and Eat Like a Girl too, because, you know, I've fallen prey to this where I've eaten the same foods over and over and over again. And I think a lot of us do that. But when you've taken your food sources and you've made them very narrow and they're the same over and over again, you're missing out on many of these 24. So I have a real principle I use for myself, which is like when I go out to a restaurant, I look at that menu and I don't think, what am I in the mood for? I think, what don't I eat?
Ooh.
And so then I'm like, okay, I need to eat. Like last night, we haven't had salmon forever. And I was like, oh, I need some good salmon. I haven't had it in like a month. So it wasn't like I was craving salmon, but I was like, I need that. And had fava beans. I'm like, I never eat fava beans. Let me have that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I love that.
I use restaurants as a way to do that. But I geek out on farmers markets.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, they're the best. I feel
amazing.
like it's fairy tale land.
Yeah.
Like here in the city, going to the Union Square Farmers Market, every time I walk over there, it doesn't matter what time of year, it's like a coloring book.
Right.
You know, like all the different, I don't know what the hell that is.
So here's something I do at farmers markets is get to know your farmer.
Yeah.
Like, And then we ask them, we're like, what, tell us about your soils, tell us about the conditions. And now you have this like really cool, intimate relationship with the guy or gal that made your food.
Yep.
And then you really get to see that the health of the soil, like some of these farmers care so much about the health of the soil, which is really important because now you're getting more nutrients from all of that. And then I look at like we have this, back in California, I have this farmer's market or this one vegetable company, and they have the most interesting heads of lettuce that I've never seen. So I go in there and I'm like, I don't eat that. And I just get a variety. And then I know I'm exposing myself to these nutrients that I need to make hormones.
I love that. Okay, I know, is fasting good or recommended for every woman, or for some women, maybe it's not? What's your perspective on that?
That's such a good question. Okay, I'm going to answer that by telling you something that's really controversial, and everybody on social media likes to call me names when I say this.
Oh, great. This is going to be so fun, and we love it.
So fasting is for everyone. It's like sleep. It is a healing state you put yourself in. Now, that doesn't mean everybody can do it. Just like not everybody can sleep. And we just passed a sleep spa.
Yes.
Like the fact that there's a sleep spa here tells you not everybody can sleep.
Yes.
So our body was literally meant to go without food. And when you go without food, it goes into this repair mode. Now, having said that, everybody gets mad at me because what happens is if you struggle to fast and you can't do it, then you feel like a failure.
Yes.
And you feel like something happened, is wrong with you. And then when I come out and say everybody should be fasting, it feels like it's...
But I can't do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so then, one person yells a name at me and they're like, right, what she said.
Yeah.
Right? So, but having said that, there are some specific times you should not fast. And I think it's really important that we talk about this. First is pregnancy and breastfeeding. Never fast for sure with pregnancy. That is not your tool. There are a lot of tools you can use for your health, like avoid toxins, eat for your microbiome. These are all amazing. Nursing, because fasting, what it does, especially the longer fasts, is that your body starts to shed the old and it'll dump that into your breast milk. And if it's toxins, it'll go into your baby. So let's just take it out for those two groups of people.
Yes.
The other one, and this one's really interesting, are eating disorders. And I'm gonna say a couple of things on this one that I think is really important, and I hope people hear this with a curious mind.
I love that.
Which is that I have watched and personally coached people with serious eating disorders that have dramatically changed their relationship to food through learning how to metabolically switch. I'm working right now with actually a very popular actress, and she came to me without a cycle in her mid-30s and was struggling with trying to figure out what to eat, and she needs to stay thin for her job and all of that. I understand that. But she was doing the classic, let me eat nothing, let me keep calories really down, let me work out more. Like there was that calorie in, calorie out. So with her, we didn't start with fasting. We actually started with food. And I put a continuous glucose monitor on her and I said, okay, you just eat. Eat for 2 weeks, and every single day I want you to send me your blood sugar measurements. And we just created this healthy relationship with food before I took all that food and put it into a time-restricted window. So it's possible, and now a year later, she's doing incredibly well. She's been eating more. It's just been a really positive experience. And so I think we have to not just say anybody who has an eating disorder shouldn't fast.
Yep.
I think this is part of why Eat Like a Girl was made, is like, let's come back and repattern your relationship to eating, and then we can go back and talk about fasting.
Yeah, and I feel like, in today's world, and I think that we're coming out of this, which makes me want to do cartwheels and do high kicks, is...
Which you're probably good at.
Oh, I loved it. Oh, I was a cheerleader. Are you kidding me? I was a maniac. I was such a maniac. I put our whole cheer team on a strength training program. Like, who the hell was I? What was I thinking? I don't know. Anyway, it's the story of my life. But my point is, I do think that people hopefully are coming back to a more nuanced understanding of everything.
I hope so too.
Do you know what I mean? Like, hey, if one person is struggling with X, Y, or Z eating disorder, okay, maybe this might not be for them right now, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
Let's just open our minds and, like you said, be really curious and go, oh, well, can we have a better relationship with food? Can we understand more about how the food that we put into our bodies, the information, has different chemical reactions, and can you learn how to have this harmony? So
it's so well said. And I want to say something about the nuance, because I think this is really interesting. You and I haven't talked about this. With social media, so much changed in the health world.
Yes.
So like people started to see like health from a new angle, and it was really positive in the beginning. And now it's getting where people look at one reel and they're like, oh, I'm not supposed to fast. I'm supposed to do that. Or, oh, I'm supposed to be eating more protein, so maybe I should do that. And we've gotten into these, no pun intended, but like bite size, like pieces of information, which is why podcasts like this are so important, because there's with the feminine body, I can't just tell you fast this way and eat this way. Like I had to write 2 huge books on it.
Yeah. And I do want to underscore too, I really, really, and this is before you and I became friends, I had so much admiration and respect. And I was like giving you high fives and fist pumps when I read Fast Like a Girl, because you very, very clearly stated, hey, this is not black and white.
Yeah.
These are guidelines.
Good.
These are things to experiment with and then see how your body feels, see how you feel, so that you can adjust for you. And I think it puts the responsibility back on us.
That's right.
And really invites us to listen.
That's so true.
And look and feel, which is what I think many of us have been missing. We're just like, well, just tell me what to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And fit it into a neat little box and I can check it off and it's like, slow the down.
Yep.
And let's just pay attention and be curious.
And I do think as women, we have a really strong intuition when we're willing to tap into it.
Yes.
And if you look at us hormonally, like I said, we're very sophisticated, and with several of our sex hormones, a lot of neurotransmitters get stimulated. So the fact that we outsource our power to someone on Instagram or an author who writes a book, like my whole message is, here's how your body works, and here's an interesting health tool. Now you go be your own, what we call N of one. Like you go figure out how that works for you. But it's going to require that you take some responsibility, as opposed to, I walk into my doctor's office, I'm sick, I vomit my symptoms all over the doctor. He or she tells me a diagnosis, gives me a prescription, and I'm like, okay, now that's what I do.
Yep.
We've entered a time where that, at least for the feminine body, that's not working.
Oh God. It makes me want to, the Jersey girl in me, like so many times I've walked into the doctor's offices and I've just walked out like wanting to slam my head against a wall. And I think what's so cool about where we are now, especially with something like a continuous glucose monitor as just one of many tools, database tools, where we can understand what's happening inside of us.
Right.
I remember Mindy, it was probably like, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I wanted to get a particular cholesterol test. Hyman had, I'd heard about something and it was like, oh, the gross numbers, that's fine, but we need to understand particle size, density, like just some more nuanced aspects of it. And I remember walking into like, at that time, my primary care doctor, and they were like, why do you need that test? I was like, what are you talking about? Why do I need that test? Because I'm asking for a test. This is my body. Here's my checkbook. Like, I'll buy. They're like, no, you don't know. And it was so infuriating to me.
It's crazy.
So now I just love that we're in this place to build on what you were saying. For anyone listening to this conversation, you can start taking these tools and then using other data-based methods to understand, besides your own feelings and besides your own lived experience of like, wow, I have more energy.
That's right.
Whoa, my cravings or the moods or everything starts to be evening out, and I'm feeling a lot more powerful and strong in my body. And hey, I can go get these blood tests, or hey, I can go check my blood sugar and see in real time for myself.
Yep.
Not what the internet's telling me, but how this particular grouping of foods is interacting with my experience of living.
Yeah, that was so well said. And I think as women, if we just gathered as much information as possible and then just tested it on ourselves.
Yes.
And then we also have to be willing to do something opposite than that our bestie might be doing.
Yes.
Because we also, what do we do? Like, I always, like ladies' night out, everybody's out and they're like, oh my God, I did this diet and I did that. And you're like, I'm going to go do that. That's going to work for me. And then we go home and we look it up and we're like, that's the diet. That's what's been missing. And then you go and you do it, and then you don't get the result your friend got.
Yes.
And then you turn on yourself.
We're so bio-individual.
We're
right?
so bio-individual.
Yeah. Chris and I have that great relationship because, Chris, power vegan has always been. And this
that's
is one
right.
thing I love about her. Like, she does not judge me because I eat so many vegetables. I love my veggies. But she'll be like, girl, do we need to get a piece of fish for you? Like, we support each other.
That's amazing.
And so I think
that's how it should be.
Exactly.
And that's how the doctor should be too. This is a big thing that I've really been trying to teach my community is like, the best analogy I can give is when you're putting a toolbox together. Let's say you're going to build something in your house. You don't look at the toolbox and go, well, I've got a hammer and I've got a screwdriver. And well, forget the screwdriver, the hammer is way better. You look at what the job is.
Yes.
And you're like, well, I need a hammer for this. I need a screwdriver for that.
Yep.
We should look at diets the same way.
Yep.
We should look at like fasting is a healing tool. And there's 6 different level fasts that I love. And you get to decide when you're going to pull that tool out. And then eating is also a tool, a health tool. So now if we go off those 3 principles, like maybe you need to increase the diversity of the foods that you're eating, but your bestie doesn't. Maybe your bestie's like, I'm doing all the diversification. And then maybe your bestie needs to work on gut and liver support so she can break down her hormones.
Yes.
And you might be like, well, I eat salads with everything. And then maybe another friend is like, hey, you know what? I got those 2 things nailed. I just really need to work on like detoxifying these hormones.
Yes.
That's the nuance of the conversation that needs to happen. And then as women, like you said with Chris, we are natural collaborators. Why? We should never be talking poorly about another woman. We should never be competing with another woman. We should be cheering every other woman on.
Yes. Celebrating them. Yep. What do they need? How can I be there for you?
That's right.
Let's talk about fasting and building muscle. So like one of the things I love feeling strong. Like that's one of my favorite feelings to have. Yeah. I've heard a lot of people say that they are somewhat afraid of losing muscle when fasting. Yeah. So what's your perspective on that?
Oh, I'm so happy you asked me this question. Did I tell you to ask me this question? That was really good.
This is why we're such like soul sister friends, because we connect on this level.
So this is one of the biggest criticisms people give fasting. So here's what I've seen and here's what the literature says. So when you go into a fasted state, your blood sugar is going down. So the brain registers that and says, where else have we stored blood sugar? And there are 3 places it stored it. Inside the cell, the liver, well, actually there's like 4. Inside the cell, liver, gut, and muscle. So it's going to go to those areas. Oh, and fat. So it's going to go to those areas and it's going to start dumping all of that glucose. So as it dumps all that glucose, your muscles may appear as if they're shrinking, because the body is making itself stronger, it's releasing stored glucose. So in the actual fast, it might feel like the muscle is less, has gotten smaller. But here's the clincher, and this is why I'm so happy to put Eat Like a Girl out into the world, is that fasting is one part of the equation. So yes, it appears as muscle shrinks when you fast, but that's why when you eat, you need to make sure you're powering up on protein. And I fall into the category of 30 grams of protein, especially in that first meal. I think that's a beautiful way to look at it. And it opens up an amino acid receptor site that makes your muscles very much receptive to all other amino acids the rest of the day. So if you are somebody who's fasting, you feel like you're losing muscle, then my answer to you is when you eat. And eat more protein. And then you won't lose muscle. And I'll tell you a story on this that really blew me away was, I don't know, like 5 years ago, I was in a yoga class with a group of women that we were doing every Sunday morning, the same yoga class together. And this woman who was about 10 years older than me came up to me after class and she's like, you are building muscle. Like, what are you doing? And that was at the height of my fasting. I was like doing 3-day water fast, 5-day water fast, but then when I ate, I'm a big protein lover. And what I realized I was doing is I actually was like making the muscle stand out even more because I was leaning myself out by releasing all this stored glucose, and then I was powering up on protein and I was building muscle. I wasn't lifting weights at the time.
Wow.
It was insane. So we have to bring both of these metabolisms into the conversation when it comes to muscle. Because yeah, you go on a 5-day water fast, you're going to appear as your muscle shrunk.
Yes.
Like it's just going to happen. But now go eat protein and see what happens.
So I'm excited about this new book because it sounds to me as I'm listening to you, the inspiration behind it was like, okay, Fast Like a Girl, amazing. Your other work, amazing. But there was this whole other piece that you wanted to dig into. And I know last night we were hanging out in your hotel room, just chatting up. And I saw you get so lit up. First of all, I love to cook. I love recipes. Yeah. And I think in this particular book, you went bonker pants on making sure, right? No, but
yes,
that they're incredible. So can you tell us about the recipes in Eat Like a Girl and why this was so important for you to get it right? And who's the book for too?
Yeah, well, okay, so the interesting thing about who the book is for, and this is gonna be like, how can you accomplish this? When Fast Like a Girl came out, do you know that there were two groups of people I heard from the most? The first was the women in their 20s and 30s who had lost their menstrual cycle. I mean, hundreds of thousands of messages my team got about like, well, what do I do about that? And that's when we were like, oh, what are you eating? We need to talk about the eating window. Okay, the second was all the mama bears. All the 45, 50-year-old women who had teenage daughters were like, help me get this information to my daughter, like how my daughter is suffering. So when I wrote this book, I really thought about everything from the postmenopausal grandma all the way down to the 20-year-old that doesn't have a cycle. As an author, you know how hard it is to write to that wide of an audience.
Yeah. But if anyone can do it, I know you can do it.
Yeah, I hope I accomplished it. And actually something really fun, little side note, when we went to go do the photos, I brought my mom in, who's 84, and then I brought my daughter, who's 24.
Oh, God
so we're all 30 years apart.
Oh, God
So
bless.
I'm 54. So the three of us there's some pictures in there of the three of us.
Yeah, I'm doing all the crying emojis, you guys, like 17 of them.
Yeah, and it was really important to me because here are three generations of women that are all using the principles in the book very differently. Like my 84-year-old mother doesn't go on 3-day water fasts, but I do have her intermittent fasting for her cognition. Whereas my 24-year-old, is more into food and detoxing and eating clean. So we talk more about food than long fasting windows. So I really wanted to bring all three into the picture.
And I love it. It's like a grab bag. It's like this beautiful buffet of possibility. And it's like, oh, well, what do I need? And, what levers would I like to pull today?
Right, exactly.
Before we keep going on this, and I do want to bring it back to the chefs.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have to go back to that.
But I want to talk first because I feel like our chip throwdown was so epic. And you basically taught me, like I was in the grocery store the other day. I'm like, nope, Mindy not approved. Nope, Mindy not approved. Nope, Mindy not approved. I love that. So, but I want to go back. Are there things, products, and maybe this is a whole other episode we do, in terms of anything that we should look out for in terms of stuff, and I'm asking for me personally, stuff that we're putting on our skin. Like from a beauty perspective, I will say most, not perfect by any stretch, but I think probably like 60 to 70%, everything is super, super clean. Great. But I'm curious if there are certain ingredients that you're like, Marie, I need you to watch out for this. Everybody. Yeah. This, and this.
Okay. Easiest way to determine is there are two apps that you can scan all your beauty products with. One is called Think Dirty. Cute name. Love. And it's put out by the Breast Cancer Prevention Fund, which is all about preventing breast cancer. The other one's called Skin Deep, and it's put out by the Environmental Working Group. You take those two apps, and like today you could do it. Just go scan all your beauty
all my
products.
Cosmetics, all my hair stuff. Yeah. Okay, great.
And you just scan it all. And then here's what you can do. I usually say just throw out what's toxic. So like I'll go off Think Dirty. If it scores a 3 or higher, or like really a 4 or higher, throw it out. Just throw it out. Now, having said that, because you're in lights a lot, this is something actually a good friend, she's become a good friend, Leanne Rhymes. She and I had this discussion early on when I first started working with her. And so she created 2 different makeups. One was the makeup she used when she wasn't on stage and on lights, and one that she had to use because it doesn't drip and it doesn't, it's like it held up better when she was performing or on an interview. Yep. So you could do the same thing, like either just section them out and make sure that moment when you're like, look, I can't have like eyeliner boogers in my eyes. And
totally.
Like
you need the heavier
drinking
stuff. Totally.
Yeah. So I like that as an example of what you can do. But it's really important that you dial your beauty products in. Those are all, if they're toxic, they're endocrine disruptors. There's so many reasons why they are destroying your hormones.
Yeah, I mean, because just think about it. I always think about this. I'm like, I'm doing all of this intentional work.
Yeah.
Busting my little booty, trying to keep the diet right. You do this, do the workout. And then am I like totally effing myself up over here, undoing, or maybe even making it worse, the things I'm not even paying attention to. So I wanted to ask. So thank you for that, because I don't have those apps downloaded.
And then the other thing I would say is from the chip throwdown that we did, which people go watch that on my YouTube channel.
I can't wait for you guys. I did something I did not know I was going to. That was like, talk about Jersey Marie spirit.
It was like awesome.
Yes, so fun.
It's so fun. You guys will just have to go watch it to see it. I put an ingredient list, a label in Eat Like a Girl. And I literally take people through like this is, and I take it through the lens of what this tells you about hormonal health. And so I like, here's what these ingredients are, here's what that is, and this is what you want to look at. Because what we were taught is to look at the calories.
Yes.
And then maybe we look at the fat, and that's it. But we need to retrain everybody. So that's the first thing. Second thing, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this when we were together, is I put a huge chart in the book on what is called obesogens.
No, we didn't talk about this.
Okay, so this is really interesting and something that I'm like, I hope people grab this with this book, is that there are chemicals that are put in our food that are literally known obesogens. And what an obesogen is when you eat that chemical over and over and over again, it tells your stem cell, which your stem cells are a cell that can go anywhere in your body and make anything. It tells your stem cells to make fat cells.
Jesus.
So literally, you're eating these chemicals. Let's go to chips. You have your favorite bag of chips. You're eating it over and over and over again. It's packed with obesogens. And you're dieting, you're exercising, you're trying to figure out why you can't live in a body or get your body to be the way you want it to be. But you don't realize that the ingredients on your favorite bag of chips that you're eating over and over again are actually reprogramming you to start to build fat. It's not a calorie issue. It is a toxin issue.
Jesus.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
It's crazy. No, and this is why these conversations are so important, because again, I thought I was doing real good until our chips were, and then I was like, I got a whole other level to go to. So we talked about, I want to really make sure that we break these down, because I think these are two great philosophies that you have in Eat Like a Girl, the foundational 5 and the 3 food rules. Even if we've covered them before, I really want to stick it and make sure that people hear these.
Yeah. So one of the things that I realized is like, I didn't really want to write a book that confused people even more. Like, I want to take all the information that we've all ever been given about nutrition and let me simplify it for you. So the foundational 5 are really simple, and I hope people accept them that way. One is blood sugar matters, not calories. Okay. The calorie thing, can we just like say right here, right now, like whoever's listening, between you and I, like we're done with calories. It tells us nothing about our health. It doesn't give us any vision of good hormonal health. It is an old, outdated theory that needs to go away.
Love it.
Blood sugar, on the other hand, absolutely tells you how quickly you're going to age, if you're going to store fat, if you're going to balance hormones. Like, it is such an important marker that I really feel like if we could put a continuous glucose monitor on every single person in the world, we would end chronic disease.
I mean, I believe it, because my dad has type 2 and he's taken himself off it a little bit. And anytime we show him his numbers, because he's number obsessed, he gets under control.
Right.
And most of us do.
Right.
When we have that instant data and that instant feedback and we can see in real time.
That's right.
It wakes most of us up.
Yeah. I mean, how many of us don't know what our food is doing?
Most of us.
Right?
Totally.
So you can eat a meal, you scan the continuous glucose monitor, and then it'll just tell you, like, how did that food do for you? So blood sugar has to be like at the forefront of everybody's brain. So that would be rule number 1, which leads me to rule number 2, which ties into this, which is eat for your microbiome, not your taste buds.
Yes. This is a big one, because how many
huge.
of us have been, it's like, because I've gone through some just terrible things where my microbiome was way off kilter. And it's almost like I could feel, I'm like, oh, there's like, I'll use this, very technical term, like shitty bugs in there, wanting the sweets or the sugar. Like it almost felt like little creatures going, hey,
there actually is.
You should be eating this, and that's terrible for you. And let's get more of it.
Yeah.
And I've also experienced other times, now is presently one of them, where things are nice, it's healthy, it's strong, and I am craving my veggies. I'm craving my fruits. I'm craving my nuts. I'm craving my kimchi. I'm craving the things that I'm like, I know intellectually that this is right.
It's actually your bugs craving them.
Yes.
Right?
I'm like, so happy bugs, good bugs.
Yeah, like this is the reframe we have to think about. So there are bacteria, good bacteria in your gut that sends your brain signals that says, feed me. So like they've actually identified the bacteria that makes you crave chocolate. Mm-hmm. So when that bacteria is hungry, it's going to be like, you eat chocolate. And so then you're going to go get chocolate. And if you get I'm a fan of chocolate, by the way. Like I think a good high quality chocolate is wonderful. But if you go and eat like a chocolate that you are like, oh, this is, what did you call it? Naughty.
Oh, Naughty Town? Are we going to Naughty Town or are we going to Spanky Town? Like at what level are we going to be? Yes.
Like you go to Naughty Town and you go into like a box of chocolates.
Yeah.
And then again, you turn on yourself. You're like, oh God, I was going on that diet. I was doing so well. And then I got stuck. And you start blaming yourself and you don't realize that it's a set of bacteria in your gut that actually is giving you these signals. So there was when I first started understanding fasting, there was a beautiful study that had just come out. This is like 10 years ago. And it was called the Every Other Day Diet. And what they did is they took a group of people who were metabolically challenged. Let's just say that. Their blood pressure was high, their liver enzymes were off, their cholesterol was high, they were obese, and they were eating horrible food. And they said, okay, here's what we're going to do. You can eat whatever you want on one day, and then the next day you're not eating. And then the next day, eat whatever you want, and then you're not eating. So every other day you fasted, and on the days you weren't fasting, you ate whatever you wanted. At the end of the year, every single person in the group had lost weight, and and all their metabolic markers had changed, and every single person's food cravings changed.
Wow.
So the only reason that happened was because their microbiome changed. So we have to go back. If you literally look at a menu or you're at a store and you go, I just did this with lunch before I came over here. I was like, my taste buds wants fries.
Yes. Yes.
Like I was like, a burger and fries sounds amazing right now.
Yep.
But I also haven't been eating enough fiber. I've been traveling, so I should probably get a salad because my microbiome would love a salad.
Yes.
So I chose a salad because I wanted to feed my microbiome, not my taste buds.
I love that. And we all got to admit, too, it's like the food, and I don't know if this is the same, but it feels like it's a related conversation about the obesogens. Like, come on. Who doesn't think, like, French fries, right? It's like, as a kid.
They're amazing.
How much, I went to McDonald's all the time.
Yep.
There was a million places where I have these memories of comfort food,
Ooh, so
and different things. And like, we're human. So you see that, you smell that.
Yep.
Every time I go to a theater, I am literally a Pavlovian dog.
Wow.
I don't do it. I don't activate it on anymore. But for like decades when I was much younger, it was like the Coke comes on, the popcorn. I'm like, yes, please. You see it, you smell it, you feel it, you want it. So don't beat yourself up if you have those cravings. But I love that.
Yeah. And,
it's like just having the consciousness to make a different choice.
Yeah. And just remember, again, I'm really hoping that this conversation, the book, will like pull the shame and the angst and everything away from this diet culture that so many of us have been living in.
Yes.
And when you're like, I can't stick to the diet, I can't stick sugar-free, I can't stay off alcohol, I really would encourage people to think like, I wonder what's going on. Like, am I feeding my microbiome? Do I even know what that means to feed my microbiome? Because once you get in the habit of feeding your microbiome, your taste buds change. And I've seen this over and over and over again. But instead, what do we do when we sit down at a restaurant? We're like, what am I in the mood for?
Yes.
When you ask that question, you're asking your taste buds. If you ask, what haven't I eaten? That would be new food for me. And what could I do to feed my microbiome? You're going to find that over time, your taste buds are going to change.
Rule number 3.
Rule number 3, and this one I love too, is eat nature's carbs, not human-made carbs.
Ooh, tell it to us.
Okay, so you know how the keto diet has been like, I feel like if the keto diet was like a human, it's like it's been glorified, it's been punished, it's been like put through all the different levels of acceptance and hatred.
Yes.
And it's gotten a lot of confusion, and people are like, what macronutrients should I be eating? Okay, to me, it's as bad as counting calories. Let's just keep this simple. What we need to know is that a good carb is one that the earth provided us. And a bad carb is most likely one that man made for us or humans made for us. So let's put this into action. fruits, vegetables, squashes, potatoes, like all of that. Sweet potatoes. Yeah, sweet potatoes are like my favorite.
Yes.
Yeah, like all of that nature provided us. And in that, there is hormonal magic. So let's stop being like, I need to go low carb. How about we just say, I need to get off the breads, the cakes, the pastas, the cookies, like the highly processed carbs. If that's all we do, it just makes it so much easier than when we were counting macros. Like when the keto diet first came out, everybody was like 50 grams net carbs. They were on like all their different apps. Okay, that's not sustainable.
No, it makes you crazy.
It makes you crazy.
Can't do it. And if you run a business or you're doing a bunch of different things like we are, it's like you're kaput on the floor.
Totally crazy.
Can't do it.
So that's why I just started saying, just like fat, you know, we're like, everybody went low fat.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they were like, wait a second, there's good fat. We need to go. And then we started talking good fat and bad fat. I want to create the same conversation with carbs. There is man-made carbs or human-made carbs, and there is nature's. And nature, for us as females, I feel like the more I study the female body, the more I think we are so in sync with nature. Like nature provided us with so many cool things to support our hormones. It's pretty amazing when you, like a sweet potato is amazing for progesterone. All of the really like green leafy vegetables, they're amazing for a set of bacteria in your gut that are called the estrobolome and actually break down estrogen. So like nature knew what it was doing when it provided a woman food.
All right, 4.
So number 4 is protein isn't just for men.
Oh.
Now this one's changing. I think, you know, it's interesting in the time that I started writing the book till now, like things are changing really fast.
Oh my God, protein everywhere, right? Yes.
Everywhere is like protein. I need to eat more protein.
Yep.
So, but why? Let's break down why. So in protein, and it depends if you go animal or plant-based, which again, we got to make sure we talk about my chefs.
Yes.
Because I think they both have benefit. But just a sheer fact is that animal meat has a more vast arrangement of amino acids.
Yep.
So I can eat a steak and get all the essential and non-essential aminos right then and there in one steak. Whereas plants, you might have to eat a variety of plants to get that same amount of amino acids. So amino acids are key nutrients that you need to make hormones. You also need it to make neurotransmitters. So when we're not eating enough protein, it's not just about muscle, although yay muscle, we love muscle, but it's also about hormones. So we've got to bring protein back.
Hey, are you ready to get clear on your most important goals and let go of everything that's holding you back? Then grab my free yearly goals map from the link below. In just 10 minutes or less, you're going to have a roadmap to achieving your biggest dreams way faster and with less stress. Get your free download at yearlygoalsmap.com, or if you're watching this on video, scan that on-screen QR code right now.
And I think, like, again, back with the macro counting, what ended up happening is everybody got into this place where they were like restricting everything. And I feel like protein's the hero macronutrient. Like bring protein in.
Yes.
Like you can't really overdo protein.
I love that.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, number 5, and then we go to chefs.
Yeah, so number 5 is fat doesn't make you fat. I hope everybody knows this, but I want to point this out. And this is something I talked about in the book. I feel like fat as a nutrient does 2 things. One, our brain is 50% good fat. So just like I looked at what I needed to eat, actually, it was pretty funny because the waiter even asked me, he's like, I asked for extra avocado with my salad today.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, it already comes with avocado. And
you're like, double up, baby.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
I was like, great, add more. Why did I do that? Well, one, I knew I was coming here and like wanted my brain to be at its sharpest.
Yes.
So half of the fuel source for my brain is fat. So I needed that. The second thing fat does is it puts the brakes on your blood sugar. So one of my chefs is a plant-based chef. And when I first met her, she was feeding me all this foods. We were at a retreat. She was feeding me all these different foods. And I had a glucose monitor on. And I would go back to her and I'd be like, check this out. Like the main course you just gave me, the entree, it like spiked my blood sugar. Could you do something else to make this so different so it wouldn't spike my blood sugar? Well, after a couple of days of this, she brings me a chocolate cake. And seriously. And she's like, Mindy, I want you to try this.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, okay, I'll try it. I was testing everything. I ate it, scanned my continuous glucose monitor, and do you know that it made my blood sugar go down?
What is this magic chocolate cake?
Right.
Say it. Speak it for the people.
So I said to her, I'm like, what did you put in there?
Yeah.
She goes, MCT oil.
Oh,
And so it was the fat
Yep.
that brought the blood sugar down. So just because you look at that and you're like, it's a dessert and therefore it's going to spike my blood sugar, what Chef Leslie did is put a lot of fat into it, and it brought my blood sugar down.
Side note, I have to say some of my favorite non-dairy chocolate vegan desserts are based in avocado.
Yes.
Like an avocado whipped kind of, do you know what I mean? Like chocolate moussey thing. And Josh like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, I'm being magical in the kitchen. And it's the best. I love that.
So if you think about just that concept alone, when it comes to eating, I'm not advocating for deprivation.
No, that's one thing I need to say. And especially in Fast Like a Girl too, because I used a lot of those recipes in your book and they're delicious.
Yeah, thank you.
And I love this too, because again, for folks who are just getting introduced to this, you know, when you are in your fasting days, and then I want to talk about the chefs, then I want to talk about the fasted snack, because that's a really cool concept. Cool. On the hormone feasting days, I got that phrase right? Yep. Where it just, I just remember feeling like psychologically and emotionally so good, because it was the first time that I feel like I ever read a nutrition book that was like, have the damn sweet potatoes, like have the carbs and let your body, I was like, yes, like it just felt like a celebration.
Thank you for that feedback, because when I went to go and look at these 3 different sex hormones, so we've got estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Yeah. I said this in Fast Like a Girl, that estrogen and progesterone are like twin sisters. Like, we call them sex hormones, we clump them together, we think they're the same, but they have vastly different personalities. So estrogen really, really wants you to keep your carb load down and wants you to be more insulin sensitive. And then she can like make her appearance and she's doing great. Like, a great example of that is like infertility. We saw so many women in Fast Like a Girl who could not get pregnant, finally get pregnant, because they started to learn how to cycle the food with their menstrual cycle. So we've got that on one hand, we've got that, whereas progesterone is like, girl, give me a cookie, give me some chocolate, sit your ass down on the couch, and then I will give you a menstrual cycle.
Yes.
That's literally like what she would say. So how do we rectify that? How do we, what do we do? Yeah. And every woman knows this, because what do we do the week before our period? We're like, give me the bag of popcorn.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't feel like working out.
Yeah.
Again, what we do is we shame ourselves. We're like, oh, I can't stick to my diet. I don't want to go to my workout. But what we don't realize is progesterone's like knocking on the door. And she's like, excuse me, I need you to bring glucose up and I need you to take cortisol down. So I don't want you to do the extreme workout. I don't want you to do a diet. I don't want you to fast. I want you to eat and feed me. That's how complex and sophisticated we are. So I just think it's important that we look a little deeper at what the female body is needing. And that's, if those 2 hormones could talk, that's what they tell you.
Yes. Okay, chefs. We heard plant-based, amazing chef who rolled out a chocolate cake that lowered your blood sugar. Yes. So this is incredible. So for any folks out there who are plant-based, you're going to have such a plethora of incredible recipes.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about your other chef.
Yeah. So Chef Leslie, just a huge shout out to her, because one of the things that I love about her is her passion for plant-based cooking. And she told me when I first met with her, she said there's 2,300 plants on this planet that are edible. And my job is to turn those into masterpieces that we can all eat. And then when I brought her the hormonal information, she's like, oh my God, next level understanding for me. So there is a whole track for plant-based people. So you could pick up this book and you could be like, I'm vegan. I don't ever want to hear you say meat again. Yep. And you have a whole track in there. I did a 30-day plan just for vegans in there that are all based off of her recipes.
Beautiful.
Then I'm not plant-based. I believe in eating meat, but I also believe we need to give choices to each other. We need to be able to invite everybody into the conversation of what it looks like to eat like a girl. So I needed to make sure that we brought the best meat-based chef in. So I found this incredible guy, and his name's Chef Jeff. Let me tell you a couple cool things about Jeff. So for starters, he had a top restaurant in Vegas called Valencia Gold. He owned that restaurant. So he's, in fact, when the recipes first came back, we were like, hey, we love you, Jeff. Some of them are a little chefy.
Yeah. Like too much.
Too chefy. So we put those aside and made sure that, all the recipes that were in there. But the second thing is that he learned how to eat meat from the elder women in Spain. And I was like, this is perfect, because his recipes they actually do have a little more of a Spanish twist to them.
I love that.
And they are based off of what he learned from these elder women. I'm like, this is what I want to bring. I want to bring the wisdom of elder women together.
Yes.
And then the third thing, when I asked him, do you understand anything about women's hormones? Turns out that he was a competitive pairs figure skater.
Oh.
And he's like, oh, I know all about this because my figure skating partner was a woman and we had to train differently according to her cycle. I'm like, what?
When have we ever heard that?
Right.
It's awesome.
It's amazing. So and these two chefs were so into this project.
Yeah.
Chef Jeff would send me texts. He's like, I just nailed keto caramel sauce. He's like, we're going to change caramel sauce for the world. And that recipe is in there. And then Chef Leslie was like, oh my God. I sent her, she has a bunch of soups in there.
Yes.
Detox soup. She's like, I nailed that. I wanted her to do a broth that was similar to bone broth for vegans.
Yes.
And she was like, I did a functional mushroom broth. They were all in texting me as they were creating all these recipes. And
I can't wait.
And then when we shot the pictures for all the people who were eating the food that was shot for the pictures, they were sending me messages this is off the hook. Amazing.
Oh, dude, I can't wait to cook my way through it. Okay, fasted snacks. What is a fasted snack?
Yeah.
And how can we get our hands on some?
Right?
Yes.
So big question that a lot of people ask me is, what can I have in my fasting window? Now, let's break down that principle before I go into a fasted snack. The goal is to metabolically switch. So when you eat, you're in the sugar burner system. When you fast, you're in the fat burning system. Now, when you start to switch from sugar burner to fat burner, it takes about 8 hours before your body really gets over there and starts making ketones. So I always say you're safely in your fat burning system at about 12 hours. Okay, that 4 hours from 8 to 12 hours for some people is brutal. They are just I can't make it to 12. I can't make it to 15. If they go 12, they can't go to 15 or 17 hours. So I started scouring PubMed. And PubMed is the Google for all science articles. And I wanted to see if there was anything out there that showed that you can still get all the benefits of fasting, but you could actually eat something. And so I found two examples. One was actually a study that was done on what they called it a fasted snack. And it has some parameters. So you've got to keep your protein under 20 grams in this fasted snack. Because once you elevate protein, you pull yourself out of something called autophagy, which is this healing mechanism that happens when you fast. So protein has to be under 20 grams. You have to keep it under 200 calories was the other thing. And it had to be mostly made up of fat. So until Chef Leslie, I was what I did all the time was a keto cup. Have you ever heard of a keto cup?
Only from you, but I don't know what's in it.
Yeah, so a keto cup is just coconut oil with some chocolate without sweetener. I think it might have monk fruit in it around the outside. And I would just tell everybody, eat keto cups. If you can't make it in that fasting window and you're struggling, they're like training wheels. Let's eat keto cups. But then I went on to study fasted snacks more, and I found that actually one of the most interesting studies they did is they took two groups of people. One group, they said, you're going to fast 13 hours, and then you're going to break your fast. The other group, they said, you're going to actually fast 15 hours, but at 13 hours, we're going to give you a fasted snack. And we're going to see what metabolically happens. The group that went 15 hours eating the fasted snack actually lost more weight, and the weight they lost was around their waist circumference.
Amazing.
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 So then I started pulling that out, and I was like, okay, this is really interesting. Like how do we make this flexible? What if we could create fasted snacks that will really help people stay in that fasting window, but curb the hunger? And so Chef Leslie created, I think we have about 10 different fasted snacks. Some of them are drinks because people like to drink. Some of them are drinks that will stabilize blood sugar.
Awesome.
And then she has some fasted crackers in there.
Ooh.
We have some fat bomb dips. There's a lot in there.
I'm getting hungry. I'm going to need a snack after this. Okay. I've heard you talk about not eating after dark. I know we talked a little bit about circadian rhythms. Talk to us about this.
Yeah.
Should we not eat after
Yeah, it's such a good concept. So here's what you need to know about hormones is that they all play with each other. They interact with each other. So melatonin, when melatonin goes high, you actually become more insulin resistant. So melatonin and insulin, they don't really like each other. They don't play fairly together. So if you think about it, the meal that you would have at 5 o'clock when it's light out, that meal will have a different insulin response than the meal if you have the same meal at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Because at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, you have a ton of melatonin. And so your insulin system is a little sleepy, it's a little sluggish. So when you eat that meal, if insulin is the hormone that will help shuttle glucose into the cell. So if insulin's asleep and doesn't come out when melatonin comes out, then what your body does is it stores that extra glucose as fat. Which actually brings up a really interesting point that I also am trying to free people of, is all fat is excess. That's all it is. It's not undisciplined. It's not you're a bad person. It's not your genetics. Your brilliant body was like, I don't know what to do with this glucose. I don't know what to do with this obesogen. I don't know what to do with this synthetic estrogen hormone. I'm going to go ahead and put it around your belly because if I put it in your breasts, if I put it in your heart and your lungs, that's going to end your life. And the number one goal for me is survival. So when melatonin's high and we eat, all that extra glucose gets shuttled to fat. So that's the nighttime.
Yes.
The morning is interesting too because what happens is you still have melatonin high, so it starts to shut off, and what shuts it off is looking at light. And now what ends up happening is that insulin system gets turned on, but within the first hour of waking up, cortisol gets turned on too. Okay, whenever cortisol is high, cortisol was meant to make you move. So you should go walk or run first thing in the morning. But cortisol also makes you insulin resistant. So if you just get up in the morning and you just wait an hour before you eat, you are going to have a better metabolic experience with that because melatonin and cortisol have done their thing and they are gone, and now you're more insulin sensitive.
I love this. So does this build into, I had a question about, are there fasting mistakes that people make that actually cause them to gain weight?
Oh yeah, it's a great question.
Let's talk about that because I think, again, if someone's like, oh, this sounds really fascinating, I'm always wanting to know, well, what are the mistakes? Where can I step in it? And I don't want to.
Well, mistake number one is they fast too long for too often. It's like overdoing fasting.
Yep.
So, and this for women, what ends up happening is all of a sudden we got a bunch of complaints, like people's hair, they're losing their hair. Or if you fast too much, you actually metabolically can get stuck and your body starts to hold on to weight.
Wow.
So that's why in Fast Like a Girl, I laid out 6 different level fasts. And I'm like, hey, vary your fasts of these 6.
Yep.
So that's the first one. Second one, a woman should never fast the week before her period. Because that's progesterone's moment.
Yep.
Progesterone's like, I want glucose and I don't want cortisol. So back off, sit your butt. This is why what do we call it? The sit your ass down retreat.
Sit your ass down retreat. This is something that Mindy and I are considering doing for all of us overachievers who just need to sit our ass down every once in a while.
And at that retreat, you know what's going to happen?
What?
Is we're going to just be sitting there. And people are going to be like, what are we doing?
And then I'm probably going to get up and dance. And then we're all going to get up and dance.
And we're going to be like, no, it's the sit your ass down retreat, which means we do nothing.
Yes.
So the week before your period, you don't want cortisol to go up. Yep. Otherwise, progesterone's out. One of the more interesting things I noticed from Fast Like a Girl that, again, really shocked me is how many 20 and 30-year-olds don't have a cycle. And now if we go back to what I said before, which is that's how we detox, this is a problem when you're 28, 32 years old.
Yes.
You need to be able to shed that uterine lining. So I had a couple theories on it. One was many of the younger generation has got some body dysmorphic issues. And I think as women in general, we need to free ourselves of trying to look a certain size or look like everybody or look like the person on Instagram that's been photoshopped.
Yep.
So there's that. But the other thing is that cortisol is saturation for that younger generation is so high. And if you're stressed out all the time, progesterone's out, and progesterone has to peak in order for that uterine lining to shed. So, when we look at who, when does fasting go dark?
Yep.
It's when we're doing it too long, for too much of it for too long, and when women aren't minding the week before their period.
Amazing.
It's that simple.
I love it. So this has been incredible. And I really, in my mind right now, I cannot wait to cook my way through
I love it.
Like a Girl. Is there anything else that you want to let the people know or that you want to say before we wrap?
I think we talked about this. One of the things I've realized in just being on social media and having so many women report back to us how their health is that women as a whole, we are massively dysregulated right now. Our metabolic system is dysregulated, our nervous system is dysregulated, our hormones are dysregulated, microbes. We are so out of harmony with our own body. So when I put Eat Like a Girl together, my idea was now there is a combo of books. You can do Fast Like a Girl and Eat Like a Girl. And for the woman, she can learn how to get her metabolic system and her nervous system and her microbial system on track just by using food as medicine and the timing of food as medicine. Once we get that all regulated, now we're going to have another conversation that'll come in another book. But I think what's really important is that we are constantly looking for that one thing. And there's not one thing. There's these systems. You are a rhythmic human as a female. You are in rhythm all the time. So Eat Like a Girl and Fast Like a Girl was meant to bring those three systems back into rhythm.
I love it. And me as a dancer, as you know, it's rhythm and harmony and cycles and nature.
Yeah.
It's this is who we are. This is who we're meant to be. And to kind of really take a stand against, I think for many of us, I know I was just conditioned, to almost behave like a robot, you know, and like a production machine and no matter what. And decades and decades of that, it's
and you probably got disconnected from your body too.
Oh yeah. And I'm a very body-centric person, you know? And so I love it. And I love your work and I adore you. And I appreciate everything that you put out into the world. And thank you for taking the time, not only to be here today, but to do all of your incredible work and to keep sharing so passionately.
Oh, thank you. I just appreciate the opportunity because as women, we're more powerful together.
Yes.
And I think every time you and I get together, I'm reminded of that. We should be supporting each other, lifting each other up, believing in ourselves. The moment of competition needs to go away.
Yes.
Collaboration is here.
Yes.
And the moment of us trying to do what every other woman is doing is gone. The moment of I do it my way, a woman's way, is absolutely here. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Hey, if you loved this video, you need to watch this one next. Trust me on that.